Welcome to the Art of Lifting podcast. Today I'm joined by Owen. I had you on here probably about a year. You were on the first episode, I think, about 18 months ago. We did a big deep dive into EST, you as a coach, all about kind of your journey as a coach up to this point. So if anyone wants to hear that part, go in. But today we're going to do a little bit of a recap and a bit of a look forward into 2026. So you had a very successful British, you and your lifters. And I thought we could maybe just highlight some performances, how you found British as a whole, like coaching there. You were handling, I think, every day there. You had a lot of lifters between EST as a whole as well, between you and Jacob. So maybe we'll start with the handling side and the coaching side and how you felt it was ran.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by the British in 2025. I had my concerns with it being in an expo hall. Like I'm just not the biggest fan of expo comps in general, just because of they have their pros and cons, but they tend to be pretty chaotic and not potentially ran as well as they could be because it's limited space. You're sharing facilities with other sports, other stands, things like that. But actually, I was pleasantly surprised. Like there was plenty of space in the warm-up room. The platforms, I really liked how things were set up for you to come out directly behind the platforms. So yeah, I have to give credit to where it's due. I actually really enjoyed the British this year, more so than when it was at the Hangar in Wolverhampton. I think it was a much better setup than the Hangar, and the rest of the expo didn't bleed into the event in like a negative way like I expected it to. You've been to fitness expos and stuff before, and they are very noisy places, and I was like concerned about how that would impact potentially us in the corner, but it was great. I enjoyed it on a coaching perspective.
I had the same kind of worries, especially I was there as an athlete this year rather than a coach, but I had the same concerns. Like I get overstimulated very easily anyway when I compete and lift, and the idea of it being in like, I expected a really busy expo hall where everything was kind of together, but I do have to say it was all kept pretty separate, and where we worked out really well, we were just inside the main hall and we were pretty out of the way. I think the only time I really noticed people from other areas of the expo were when they're coming to watch anyway, like the kids rowing, I think, kept coming over to watch and stuff, which is obviously great. But yeah, I agree with you completely. Actually, it was ran really well. I really liked the Hangar, to be fair. I think how they did juniors was better than how they did it for open. But I did really like the atmosphere in the venue. I think it's like a darker venue. That there's something about the atmosphere when you're the lifter, about it just being that little bit darker and like dingier almost. But yeah, it makes for me in terms of the size of the warm-up area, anything like that.
Yeah, no, it was really solid, and I think it was nice. Like for me, I saw obviously you had a lot of like kids and stuff competing, like say in the rowing and like other sports. There's obviously like weightlifting, and I think there was, I'm trying to think there was what else there was, but there was a lot there, and you could see them coming over and be like, "That's really interesting." And I remember there's one specific moment. It was when Caitlin Baxter was lifting in the 57s. And I actually, like, it's where I realized I'm starting to get old and like appreciate these things. As I walk out behind Kate, I think it was like her third squat, and there's like three young girls, must be like 10, 11, 12, like watching Kate go out and squat 170, and they're all like filming it and like, this is unreal. And like I caught myself a bit where I was like, that's what it's about, because like in the more mainstream sports, there will be kids who are doing it just because they don't really know what else there is to do, right? Like there's something they've done to this, whether it's gymnastics, whether it's whatever, and they're like, oh, I'm too small to do weightlifting or something like that. I find that really interesting. But then they see Kate at like 5'0", like bright hair, loud as, unapologetically herself, squatting 170 kilos. Like that will inspire that next generation of lifters or people to get into gyms and lift weights because they see someone like them. And I just thought that was really cool. And that's, I suppose, the big pro of like an expo like that. It's because non-powerlifters don't really go to powerlifting comps. Even Sheffield, you're going to Sheffield because you're into powerlifting. Like Doris down the road, who's like sees that's up Sheffield City Hall, and she's like, "Oh, we'll have a night on the town. We'll go watch some powerlifting." They're not doing that. But in an expo, it kind of exposes that, and that will bring more eyes on and people in. And I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that's one thing. I was on the Barbell BS recap show that we did, and that's one thing I mentioned them because they weren't actually there in person, and they were asking what it was like as an expo. And I said that was one of the biggest positives for me. Is I think it was when Kate was on, because it was the 83 men the other side, wasn't it? And I was sat in front of the stand, and I literally couldn't see because there were so many kids, like all the boys who come around the men's side. I think there were loads of girls watching the women's side, and like you say, like seeing, like I don't think I ever saw anyone lift weights when I was 10, 11, 12. Like I didn't know that was a thing or a possibility. And then these kids that are probably already pretty sporty because they're there for whatever other events are going on, or like their brother or sister are competing in something, to then come and be fascinated by watching powerlifting, which isn't always the most exciting thing to watch. And I don't think the setup was necessarily the most spectator friendly. But when you're just seeing, like you say, someone like Kate walk out, she's like petite, 57 lifter, just walk out like absolutely herself, confident, to come out and watch someone that lifting, it's going to stick in their memory. Even if they don't join a gym until they're like 17, 18, 19, they're probably going to think, oh, I've seen that girl squat. And that will be a core memory for them probably.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And there's little things like that. And I think it's back there next year as well. Which will be really cool. Hopefully see some, like, you know, they say those sort of spectator friendly like tweaks maybe come into play as well, and then it kind of builds on that, because I think it was already a really good base. I think like the only thing I came away where I was like, oh, I'd maybe change that, is like what side the coach's box was on, as a coach, because you come on at the behind, which I thought was really good, especially when you had lifters that don't like seeing what's on the bar in a comp. You're not coming on from the side or see a screen and see the end of the bar, and they do that. You walk on the back, you just walk at the barbell. But then I also understood that it was right next to the jury on both sides. So it made sense. But for me, I was like, I'd maybe prefer it the other side, but I understand why it's here, right? And that was my only complaint. And anyone that knows me knows if that's my only real complaint, then it's done all right.
Yeah. While we've mentioned Kate, I feel like we have to mention her day, because is it her first year in the Open?
It was the first Open British, yeah.
Yeah, and she walked away with bench record. Did she break it twice?
Yes. Yeah. So that's been like one of Kate's goals in powerlifting since, I mean, we've worked together since, I think it was beginning of 22. I guess started coaching Taryn 21, and then I think it was like January 22 or something like that. So 4 years really now. And that's always been her thing. She looks up to Bobby massively. And then what came third at Junior Worlds 24. And then 2025 was that first year into the Open. And kind of just like has had a mental year training wise. Like it was crazy. And then, came into the British. That's kind of just the main thing. Kate is in a weird little island on her own a little bit right now in the class, because I think any other nation, most other nations in the world, Kate is someone who totals 450 at 57, is continually improving and like chipping away, would walk onto a national team.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
in Britain, we have 3 of the best 57s in the world, all in the same class, with Joy and Bobby and Anna Joke, right? So it's those 3. And then it's Kate, who's like a decent chunk away. Like, obviously, that is the goal to chip away and get into that mixer. And then it's like another step where like there's no one really close chasing her just yet. So she's kind of playing her own game. So that bench was kind of the only thing really for us to come with. And I kind of took pleasure in just throwing ourselves in the mix, because I know Bobby will have been going for the chip and Henry will have tried to, like, that's a factor in his plan. And I was like, but probably wouldn't have planned for us to take it on the second.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit there. And then, to be fair, it nearly went against us, because I had planned to go like 14 and a half after the second, because I was like, just take the chip, force them to miss, because we had the higher lot number. So I say 114 and a half after the second, genuinely just to be safe. And Kate turns around and goes, no, I want 115. And me and Taryn look at each other like, it is the wrong decision tactically here. Like, it objectively is the wrong number. But over half a kilo, if Kate doesn't get what she wants, does she miss it because her head's gone?
Yeah.
Over the sake of half. And I go away, and Henry's put 115 in for Bobby, which means if they both hit, Bobby would come away with the record because she did it first.
Yeah.
I'm sat there and I've got Dan Clark in my ear giving me a bit of jip about, there's a mistake there. And I'm like, no. And then thankfully for us, Bobby missed. Like, it just pushed her a little bit too far on that day. And then, Kate smoked it. To be fair, benches really popped off. She loves that soft pad. Can really work in there and locks in. So she was buzzing. That was kind of the main goal for the day. Like, we probably wanted a little bit more total wise. Obviously she got a third squat overturned on depth. Just with some injury stuff, just I think protecting the hip a little bit. And off the back of it has managed to secure Open Euros spot in her first like full thing, which is huge. Like neither of us really expected that with how stacked the teams are, for us not to podium and still be in that mixer is really cool, and that'll be a massive experience for her, like to stay in it. Like it's that real transition from junior team, oh, I'm in the open, I'm in the mixer now, like, because I feel like that step and transition out of the juniors can be a massive thing for some lifters, because again the talent pool at the open, keeping these talented juniors that are very, very good in their own right in the sport is hard, because they're like, well, what cool stuff is there for me now if I can't make the open team, right?
It's hard for them to see, I think, the long term of it, especially if they got quite good quite quickly. But just to highlight how well Kate did, her GL was 105.83 as in fourth place in that class. Like that's insane. And also I looked at the ages as well, which is why I think mentioning coming out of the juniors and stuff, like Adejoke's 34, Bobby's 31, Joy's 32, Caitlin's 24, and she obviously there's a gap, like you said, you know, between her and Adejoke, who came third, but she's 24. Give her a couple of years, she's still progressing. I think getting that Euro spot is going to be obviously huge for keeping her head in it anyway, but that is such a hard point for juniors that have been going to like Euros and Worlds as a junior, to find yourself then in the open and trying to figure out where you belong in the open. Is we see so many people drop off at that point, don't we? Like they might stick it out for 6 months to a year, and then you just never see them again, and you wonder what's happened. A lot of them are now coming back, I think, as well, from like when I was a junior and that quit and stuff. But yeah, to see how good her total is, but she is just in this unbelievably stacked class. Like it has to be the most stacked class we have in Britain.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's it's just a funny one, and it's a fun one to coach, because like it's a nice one for her to chase, right? Like her entire junior career, she was pretty clear. Like there was a few people, like you had Amelia Fox, even Hannah Matson at points and stuff like that. The conversation was always about them chasing Kate, and you'd look at like, okay, are you going to be able to out deadlift the gap between the bench? Because it's like, oh, everyone's squat's kind of similar, and then Kate's bench is like 40 kilos more than anyone. So her entire junior career, she was kind of that, like she was the marker, she was the standard, people would chase her. And then it's an interesting one with her coming into the open, becoming the chaser rather than being the chased. So yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be good fun. We're kind of taking a little bit of a different training approach off the back of the British, to try for Euros, see what happens there. Like it's fairly low risk there, for her. Like the expectation, like we're happy to be there. Like she's going to rock up and she's going to compete, but we are just happy to be there. So we're going to try a couple of bits, try and turn the needle a little bit on some of the workload, and see where she lands, especially on that deadlift, because that's going to be the big thing for her, is plugging that gap there, because the standard is so high. Like if you're not pulling north of 180 as a 57, that's a massive gap. Like no matter how good that squat and bench is, like Kate could bench 120 within the next year or so and be well clear of anyone, but that's still not enough when you have people who are pulling 200 plus in the same class. Like that's the priority now, is to plug that gap. If we can do that, then we're on. But yeah, that was a fun one, that was. But
I mean, we see it with Bobby, like you say about that gap. Like Bobby is obviously phenomenal in her own right, but it is the deadlift every time that just keeps her that little bit further back, just because she's not pulling north of 200, which is a ridiculous statement to make about 57 kilo women, but it is true.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll be really interested to see how that landscape pans out. But on a coaching and a Caitlin perspective, it's we'll just keep chipping away and hopefully sort of find our way onto that podium and make sure subtotal is too far away and get there eventually. But I know she just loved being a part of that. Like I think that was such a long time coming, and Kate is someone who loves the sport, so was always seeing herself staying in the open and being in it for the long term. So I think that was a big like, wow, I'm here moment for her. Because as we settled in through the comp, she got more and more comfortable and less nervous. So yeah, no, that was class. That was really good. That was the Saturday morning, wasn't it? Saturday morning. Yeah. That was a good start today. That was.
Were you handling on the Friday, the lightweight classes?
Yes.
How was the Friday?
I had Matt Chan in the 66s. Good old Channy, which was a nice, like, I say low stress. I don't think handling Channy ever is low stress, but is I had Channy on there, which was nice. Helps out with like Ben Grant and some of the numbers there.
Yeah.
But largely my job was to make sure that Channy had a good day and enjoyed some powerlifting and a PB total, which he did. He had a perfect day. I actually think I sandbagged his pull a little bit because he just thinks less on comp day and pulls better. But yeah, that was good fun. That was a nice like intro to the comp weekend where I can find my feet with the venue, find my feet with how things sort of are flowing ahead of the Saturday, which was ridiculous for me. It was too much.
Did you have any other lifters on the Saturday morning? Saturday afternoon was hectic for you.
Yeah, so I had Grace Allinson in the 69s for her last comp before she moved to Australia. And yeah, that was a tough one. Like she popped her back like 5 days out. Prep was looking great. Was one of those like everything's looking really, really good. Last deadlift session of prep, just like secondary deficit deadlifts, and just stress about leaving the country, I think kind of accumulated. And I think landed 5 shy of a PB total, which she did at Northerns. So like it's one of those on paper where she would have been disappointed not to have the absolute blind at 9 for 9 that we all chased, right? But considering on the Wednesday she could barely stand up.
Yeah. And she still pulled 190 looking at the results from the day.
Yeah. It's it'd be a bit of a stinger. She's been pulling 200 on the platform for a while.
Yeah.
To the point where it was really annoying that 197.5 was the right number at Norlands for her, like competitively. I knew it. As I was watching, I was like, this is gonna land that way. Well, I will do it at the British. And was just too heavy, like because she'd hurt her back. I think if that hadn't happened in that taper week, she'd have had a blinder. But yeah, that was just me Saturday morning. So I had Taryn help me with Caitlin, and then I basically just yo-yoed between the two platforms. Just luckily, timing wise, it spaced well. But I had Taryn just to make sure Kate was like where she needed to be. And if there was ever a clash, I'd kind of just hover and stay towards Grace's side. I was very lucky to have a lot of good help over the weekend to ease it, because there was not many sessions where I didn't have people on both platforms.
Yeah, I think this is the issue with obviously two platforms in general, but I've seen so many because it's British Equipped at the end of this month, isn't it? And obviously I think on the classic side, the coaching license side of things, everyone had to get them renewed on the new platform and stuff, which I think people were stressed about. But all I keep seeing over the last week or so is people stressing about how to get the coaching license sort of British Equipped. Because on the classic side, generally speaking, you only really need one per lifter, right? One handler per lifter.
Yeah.
People can float between the two. You can manage a couple people in a flight. It's not too much of a stress. But obviously with Equipped, a little bit different. Yeah. Generally, you need like a whole team back there for like however many lifters per group and stuff. And I've just seen so many people like stressing about the fact that they essentially haven't got enough handlers for Equipped. And I think this is the one issue that we've got with the coaching license right now is like we need people back there for Equipped, because Equipped is a team sport, right? But yeah, obviously with Classic, I think people generally muck in and help each other enough, and there's enough good people behind there that you can trust to support. And obviously Taryn and Kate being together makes that a little bit easier for that class as well.
Oh, it makes my life so much easier. Even if sometimes, and I'll do this because they will listen, is like Taryn will tell Caitlin stuff to do, and because he's her partner, she's like, no, I don't want to do it. So then I have to go over and say exactly the same thing, but because I'm the coach, it's like, okay, Owen, we'll do that. I was like,
so fair.
It's just the way it always is, like when you have people who are partners and you coach both of them.
That's so fair though. I would be the same. I would be the same. We'll move on to Saturday afternoon then. So you had people on both platforms, am I right? You
Yes.
were handling on the 105s because you just had pretty much the whole flight.
Yeah.
Was it 93s at the same time?
So yeah, I had Jay Batten in the 93s and I had Ella Dronfield in the 76s. So I got Jacob with Jay, and then Taryn handled Ella. So Taryn does Ella's nutrition. So I was like, you guys, like there's a rapport there, so that they can look after that, whilst I'm on the other side with the 3 105s. So yeah, that was a busy afternoon. And again, like really solid days. Like Jay had a fairly like squat landed about where I expected. Bench didn't quite, but again, he won't mind me saying this. Jay took his bench grip out without actually realizing that he'd done it, until I kind of clocked and went, are you holding wider than normal? And he's like, no, I did, because we did English bench earlier in the year to trial some closer grip stuff. And he'd just gradually taken it out and hadn't clocked, and I hadn't either. Like I just had a session there. And then he had a punt for podium, which ultimately ended up being too heavy. Like I think he had to pull 352, which would have been a massive PB. Like he came agonizingly close to 42. Was it 47 or 42? I think it might have been 347 at Western Euros. So we were like, well, 52 for a punt isn't with how good that was, isn't unreasonable, because deadlifts have been better this prep. And unsurprisingly, 352 is pretty heavy. Which again is mad, but that 93 battle in the end with people slotting and changing was a bit crazy. I think Maxwell and Christian, their battle, and then that like last little bit, you had Johnny Lewis, a big puller, you had Nathan Gaval punting to try and put pressure on people, you had Jay in the mixer there. Like it was that was a cool flight, and like I only managed to really catch the deadlifts because the 105s finished before then. But yeah, looked crazy. It was good fun. And then Ella had a good day as well. Like Ella had a really nice day. It was her first comp at 76. We chose that over Junior Euros this year, because Ella was a 69 through all of the last year, and Ella's quite tall. Like she is a 76. Like
She's
definitely
me,
at least,
and I'm an 84. Yeah.
At least for the foreseeable. Like
she doesn't need to move up. She's fine as a 76.
Yeah. And basically just after Worlds, where she had a little bit of a back issue, which again I think came from being a little bit too light and support around joints and things. And then was like, right, we're going to go to 76. Got an invite to Euros at 76, and we had a long conversation about what is the right type of competition for Ella right now. Is it Euros where ultimately it's going to be I'm here to compete, or does she need to just enjoy some powerlifting and put a total up? Because she's as talented a lifter as she is, as I have no doubt in my mind that you will get another GB singlet next year or the year after, whatever. Is it worthwhile going all the way to Lithuania to lift at 76, push hard, and ultimately maybe miss some attempts trying to be really aggressive and chase those people at 76? Or do you want to just go to the British and lift around athletes that you look up to and inspire you, and realize that you belong at a national level? Like these people that are your idols and people you look up to are real people, and like you're not that far away from them. Like, and let's enjoy a comp around these people. So we had a long chat about that. Elected to the British 76, and that's exactly kind of what happened. Is just had a laugh.
Yeah,
had a good day of powerlifting, had a PB total, PB deadlift, and got to lift alongside and meet like Betty, meet Temi, and those like lifters that she knew of through Instagram and social media, and like get to have a good chat and rub shoulders with them and go, oh, this has really inspired me going into this next year as a junior. Like it did exactly what it needed to, which was class.
I think it's also like amazing as well, the fact that she's 20 years old and she finished sixth in an unbelievably stacked class, and women that finished lower than her, they're names that we've seen around for so long that are incredible lifters as well. And she finished pretty much middle of the pack as a 20. Like I think confidence wise, you know, that was probably almost definitely the right decision for her to just do that. And just if you belong there now, where are you going to be when you're in the open?
And just enjoy some powerlifting. Like it's the first comp at 76. It's there's no expectations. Like we're not there to beat Betty, not there to like, that's not the thing here. We're not chasing people. It's like, let's actually enjoy this thing that a lot of people forget is a hobby. Like, it's something we take really seriously, but let's enjoy our hobby for a day rather than piling loads of pressure on it.
I do think that is becoming the rhetoric a bit more now. Like, I think, not to change the topic, and we will continue obviously recapping, but like with Ben and Lewis both kind of taking a step back, and a lot of these younger lifters, don't know why, look up to them. But like we were talking before we started recording about your training's taking a little bit of a different approach now and stuff as well. And people are kind of just doing what they enjoy for a bit. Still, a lot of people still doing SBD and still doing like signing up for competitions, whatever else. But I think people are putting less pressure to have like the golden microcycle, perfect training split, continuous progression throughout the year. Like they're actually just, oh no, I want to have fun and enjoy this while I do it. And then yeah, I think that's definitely becoming more popular again, was all I want to say there.
Yeah, I think and this is going to be another little tangent. It's on the same point, but it's another little tangent. I think the sport is a victim of its own success, because I think a lot of people, like, I know, like, personally myself, like, when I was like a younger, like 93, earlier in the sport, totaling like 630, at the time, British champion was Hendrik Famatumi, and he totaled like 740 at 93. So that's how far things have come, just perspective wise. But like, I remember being that 93 in the sport at that point for like 2-3 years and going, I'm making more progress than those people at the top year on year. I can see myself winning a British title and being competitive in the long run. So I'm going to keep my head down and just keep chipping away and just do powerlifting, because there was this level of like self-belief and delusion of like, I will be there. It's just time. Now, Christian at 93, on like best days, like what, like 890, like high eights. Does Owen, who's been in the sport, I think I was like 23 at the time, go see Christian doing like 880, 890 and see myself doing that and being like, I'm going to beat that guy in a few years? No.
Yes. Have some self-belief.
Like, it's a completely different conversation. And I go, okay, I think you've got the ceiling and the top end of this sport is so high now, which is awesome to see. Like, I love elite powerlifting, but do those kids and people who come into the sport like stay for the long haul, or even see themselves being successful, and like that sacrifice for the unknown, because it's so up here? It's like, well, what's the point of committing everything to this, because I don't think I'm going to win anything long term. Like 120s with like Nonso and Josh, you look at the talent they have and how young they are. Like, do I see myself going into the 120s long term and totaling over 1,000? No.
Yes.
No, I don't. Like, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. But I think this is like a byproduct. People are doing other things now, because that, in order to be elite powerlifter, you have to put everything into it. It's no longer like, I think Pete Spence put up an Instagram story the day, like, you have to be a full-time athlete. You can't be doing the extra stuff. If you're wanting to be top, you need to be an athlete, not just a part-timer sort of thing. And I think people are starting to see that. So they're like, okay, well, if I may as well do other stuff, rather than like, I can still do this and make progress, but I may as well do other stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's a byproduct of that wider scene, right?
Yeah, I also think we need more. I think, again, it's becoming more of a thing, but the amount of conversations I have with people that are like, they get into powerlifting because they want to be good at powerlifting. I'm like, that's fine. I want you to want to be better than you are. But what is your ceiling for good? Like, are you saying I want to be good as in I want to be the world champion? Because we can work for it, but also that doesn't mean you can't be happy with what you're doing and enjoy the process along the way. Like, good is like qualifying for British now in a lot of weight classes is next to impossible for very good lifters. Like the 93 battle they had at Powering Through, very good established lifters that have done, like, I think Cyrus is one that came to mind that was in the battle there, and like he's done Commonwealth before and he was in a battle to qualify for British. Like, that's an achievement now. Like, where is this standard that people are like, but if I'm not going to be good, what's the point? I'm like, the point is it's fun.
Yeah.
And you're doing a sport, you're doing something good for your body, good for your health, good for your mind, and you're progressing along the way.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, and I think it's definitely a wide conversation of like generations of like, what are the attitudes when you come into it. Like, there's so much more eyes on the sport. There is opportunities to make money through the sport. There is like, it's still so new and we're learning all these things. Like, people come in with different perspectives on it. Whereas like you and I came into powerlifting. My first comp was not on calibrated plates. Like, I went into, it was a gym called Iron Athlete in Sheffield. I just was up in Sheffield for a work trip, like before I was even like coaching or PTing. And I went in and I think I was squatting, like I was running PH3 by Lane Norton, which is like a nice cookie cutter program. And I was just squatting and some bloke was like, you've got good form. Have you ever thought about competing? And I've gone, no, but like, why? Anyone? Oh, we've got a comp on like next month. Do you want to do it? And I went, yeah, okay. And I did it. And I just fell in love with being on the platform and that like environment and social thing. And then literally was on a Texas power bar on body power steel plates. And I asked the guy whether I could wear knee wraps or knee sleeves. And he went, whatever you want, mate. and like it just wasn't asked. And then it was like, cool, I fell in love with it, and then progressed into through things more, and was like, I think I went 4 for 9 in my first comp because I just silly things like first comp stuff, but I had a blast, and it was like, cool, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like I want it, and I think people have lost that because of partially maybe social media and like that public facing image of like, oh, I have a bad comp, it's the end of the world. It's an interesting one, but I think it's a good trend as well, because I think for the first few years of me powerlifting, like I still had a social life. I still probably had too much of a social life, to be honest, in my early years of powerlifting, but like there was a balance there of like, this is part of what I do and what I love, and that then transitioned to become obviously a career and things for me. But it's I think it's a good thing. And we may again ebb and flow back where people do less again. It's that cyclical nature, right?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. To be honest, I think we're now going into that phase of people doing less again, but still the sport, I think to be honest, the numbers I think have settled down a little bit. I think I saw some of the numbers have actually dropped. I think it might be American numbers of like memberships and stuff. But obviously we're going to see that. But I think the sport will continue to grow and progress. But I do think people are going to be a bit more open to trying other things. I think Ben was a perfect example of that with how well he did at British, to just focusing on rugby, right? And we see more and more. I think Melina in 84, she wants to go back to doing rugby. I think she's going to do world championships first and then go back. But like people aren't scared to take a step back, because we keep seeing, like for me, like when I first started in the 72s, it was Mariella Fisher, Alice Francis Free, and they were at the top. They both gone away. I think Alice was dealing with injury. Mariella, I don't know why she stopped starting, but I know she's gone off to start a family and she's done all these things. They both came back this year, and they both did incredibly well at the British and are still at this competitive level. And it's almost like confirming to people, oh wait, no, you are allowed to take a step back and do something different if you want to do something different for a while, and just have fun with your training for a bit and not focus primarily on SVD for a while. And I think we're maybe going into that phase now, is all I was going to say. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely think we'll see that. I think there's so many factors to that, right? It's but I think it's only a good thing. It's only a good thing. Like we've gone from the stereotype of the fat powerlifter, where it's like, cool, just eat whatever, recover, it's fine. So like now there's that transition into like classic powerlifting again, where people are starting to look after themselves more, but still like hyper specific, but we're starting to see sports nutrition come in a bit more. So and I think it's now that wave of like, cool, actually, like maybe doing cardio is going to be good for you recovery wise and look after your joints so you don't explode every time you squat something heavy. Like just adding on.
I remember I think it was like my first nationals, and I remember looking around at people eating post weigh, and they literally just sat there eating like donuts and cookies, because it was like, well, I've weighed in now, I can eat what I want. And that's such a thing back then. But obviously everything's improving. The sport is being taken more seriously, which has positives and negatives. Gonna trail us back to British, because we got to the 105s.
Yes.
British champion still as a junior, coached by yourself.
Yeah.
I'll let you give a bit of a play-by-play of what happened there. Is it his first year as a 105 as well, Nathaniel?
Yes, yeah, first year as a 105. So I guess full circle with it. Did Junior Worlds 24 as a 93. Won that world record deadlift in 93. Like pretty much the super meet. Like it was 9 for 9 performance. Everything was on the money. You know, when those comps happen as a coach and as an athlete, where you every number you pick seems to be the right one, and it just lands, you know, this feels like our day, and you just let other people miss and it opens doors. It was one of those, but he just had to cut a bit more than he was maybe comfortable with. I thought it was fairly comfortable at the time. We had a long chat about staying 93, trying to take Chance Mitchell's deadlift record and stuff like that, but ultimately made the decision of longevity of go up to 105, which was always the class, which has obviously gone very, very well. That's what that 915 the British was 59.5 kilos up on his world's total at 93, because he ate 45.5 Junior Worlds. So it's been a big success, and like it's not always been linear as well. Like I think it's taken a bit of time and adaptation for the deadlift, like leverages changes and stuff like that. Like there's been some relearning there, because he definitely filled out the 105s quicker than I expected him to do. The man is large, and that just impacted deadlift leverages temporarily. Help squat, like great, like bench has gone really nicely. He's really benefited from that, like, and has put on a lot of quality tissue. Just like deadlift hasn't quite popped like it did at 93, but now body comp has settled. We've kind of settled in and had time at that body weight, because I think that's something that people don't realize is just because you go up, you don't automatically like plus 20 on your total. That takes time, and your body needs to learn how to use that. And then kind of again after Worlds, there was the conversation of, do you want to do Euros or do you want to go to British? And 25 was Nathaniel's last year as a junior, so it was okay. Well, I want to be on the Open team. So how do I do that? And he said, well, you compete at the Open, you don't do junior Euros and then try and put dispensation in, you go and beat the best at the British. And that, is ultimately where we landed. And he had a great day, to be honest. He squat showed up even better than I was expecting. That this is going to sound really picky and the most IPF powerlifting thing I've ever said. The Alico bar on the platform looked really whippy for an Alico bar. And like, everyone had to lift on it, so it's not a problem. Like, everyone's on the same standards, like it's fine. But noticeably across first and second, I'm like, oh, that looks a bit more unstable than I'd maybe expect. So especially considering that like squatted 327, probably had like up to 335 in him, which is way north of what I was expecting. So that was class. I mean, he ruined his bench peak, like he just ruined it. And he was like 2 weeks out on his tertiary thing. He misloaded a Larson single on like a photo shoot and basically had to Larson press like 180 and nearly died. And then literally, like, even in the warm-up room, he's like, oh, my chest is still cooked. Like, I feel awful.
See, being an influencer is not good for powerlifting, clearly.
No, I think it can be. Just learn how to count plates.
That might help.
I'm going to have enough stick for that. But like, again, like still matched what he benched at Junior Worlds like prior. So I was like, you know what? Like, I kind of wanted like 15, 17 on bench, but like conditions wise, again, you just take what's there on the day.
Maybe he's better off doing 20 kilo jump opener to second.
Don't get me started on that one.
We won't go into that. That's fine.
He's definitely not better with 20 kilo jumps. He just needs to pace a block properly. But yeah, that was on the money. And then deadlift was always a funny one because we speak about how powerlifting has grown and expanded and things like that. And I don't understand what kind of world powerlifting is right now, where we have an athlete in Nathaniel that is the best part of a 390 deadlifter, and he's not deadlifting last. And like, not even like 2.5 kilos here and there, they're comparable. Like 40 kilos, 50. Like, we went knowing we're going to have to have a 50 to 60 kilo lead on subtotal to make this even a viable conversation. And went in, I think it was 58 kilo lead, or he needed to outpull us by 58. So I think it was 57.5. And he loads 432. And it got a lot further than I was expecting. Mild panic. But yeah, and it was just enough. So like, that's where that whole having to pick a number that is heavy enough to make that happen, but not so heavy that we miss, is always the game there. And that's the difficult bit. And it's not a position I find myself as a coach in a lot. And it's probably the position I find the hardest. Yeah. It's the simplest because you pick as little as is sensible. Like, you pick, but that lack of control is a weird one for me as a coach. I like being able to have the final say. I
also think with two perfect examples, Sanchez and Nonzo, what ends up being the lowest number that's sensible? Because the numbers they're going to load, there's no sensible about it. Like, I thought Sanchez had no chance with the 432 just based on how his second moved. And then like, I was sent a ref and it literally got to his knees and I was like, is he about to just lock this out? Like, I genuinely believed for a moment that it was going to happen. And I think I spoke to Matt Gowrie briefly on the Sunday while I was competing, and we were talking about the 120 battle with Josh, because he was handling Josh, and it was like they had to load what they thought Nonzo couldn't pull, which ended up Nonzo needed 408.5. But like, some days he'll miss it, some days he'll pull 425. Like, what? There is no sensible, logical. Like, obviously you guys got the right number, you did. But it's just wild to think, like, Nathaniel, I don't know if he still has it, but he had the world record deadlift in the 93s as a junior, right?
Yeah. He did have it,
To then come in and 375 might not be enough.
Yeah.
Even though he has like a very solid total, like subtotal built up. That's unbelievable. Like it shouldn't be possible. And I don't know how we've gotten to this point with powerlifting this quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. One thing I am really looking forward to in that mixer though is if and as and when Sanchez goes 120.
Yeah.
Because like he's very tall, he definitely should be a 120. If he can maintain those leverages but get a little bit more stability so it helps a subtotal enough, all of a sudden that's another very good 120. And you put Sanchez in the mix of a deadlift battle with Nonso, like same class, that's very cool. Like that's something that I would, as a fan of powerlifting, I would probably go and watch, not just be like, oh, I'll tune in the live stream. Like, no, I want to see that.
Yeah, but even when we get to a world level, you then throw like Rondell in the mix as well. Is it Etienne? 400 plus deadlifts will just become normal in that weight class, which is just unheard of. Like we don't see. I know 120 plus generally struggle more with deadlift anyway, but like we're not seeing that in the 120 plus apart from Jesus, let alone the 120s and 105s. It's madness.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like that was like coaching wise was a bit of a scary moment because I'm like, right, well, we've done what we can, we'll see what happened. But like as a fan of the sport, I'm like, that's mental. And like really in the coolest way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's an amazing thing. It's just impossible to wrap your head around. I think when you started before like the COVID time as well, and like I remember when Jacob, who runs EST with you, pulled 300 for the first time. And I remember that being this huge deal. And I was like, most of these people are pulling 300 plus. Like, how is that possible?
A lot of classes, you're not a good deadlifter. Like it's mental.
Were you anyone else over the weekend that you had an 84 plus?
Yes, I had Millie Stoney in the 84 pluses. I've coached Millie for years, to be fair, like super busy. And PB total, I think 12 and a half. PB squat, PB bench, squat 207, bench 107. And just missed a last pull on like basically it was a no lift. It was like 2-1 on like soft lockout. And then one of the red lights was because she moved her foot after the down command. Had a long conversation with the jury about that one in a nice, respectful way. It was just a discussion. But yeah, it didn't go our way. So it was a big PB total, just like 495, just shy of 500, which was the big goal for the day. So she was ultimately disappointed by that because that was the big goal. But I think it's a big step forward for her generally. So yeah, it was a really overall positive weekend. I enjoyed it a lot, which was nice. It was a nice way to round out the year, like handling wise. I was just ready to sleep for like a month after that, like 3-week span of coming back from the US. There was Northwest Open the weekend that I landed. I wasn't there, but had lifters. There was British, and then more the following weekend. I've just been basically in hibernation over Christmas.
It's very fair. We've obviously just spoken a lot about deadlifts.
Mm-hmm.
And you coach Nathaniel, who is influencer, quite a big YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And he did a collab a while back. I've not seen you to ask you for your thoughts. Obviously, as a lifter, as a coach, I have my own thoughts on the video. Yeah. And the video did what it was meant to, right? Like it got a lot of engagement. But for anyone that doesn't know, Nathaniel did a video with Eddie Hall. And obviously Eddie, incredible deadlifter on the strongman side, was critiquing Nathaniel's form.
Yeah, the exact word. The exact words were, "If you paid me to coach your deadlift, I'd tell you that was shit." And yes, that's a direct quote because obviously, I took it very personally and remembered that. Yeah, I could. The video's been out long enough where I could kind of go, all right, I can see it. Like ultimately, it's for a reaction and traction, right? Like make bold statements, and I think. Athletes have egos. It's part of what makes them great athletes is that very on-track mind, right? And Eddie figured out the way to pull for his leverages and what was the right way for him. And having as someone who's been to an Eddie Hall deadlift seminar as well, is very much like this is the one way to do it. And I understand the rationale and reasoning, but it was you are looking at Nathaniel, who is like leverage wise has better deadlift leverages than Eddie. So his position is just going to be different. Never mind the nuances of not being in a suit and bar and stuff like that. And I'd been given a heads up and I basically just went, I'm not picking this argument. when I know the response will be, where's your world record deadlift? There is no point in arguing over something like that. But yeah, like what he was saying isn't inherently wrong in some places as far as stance width, creating more space at the hips, getting the legs involved a little bit more. Absolutely. And I definitely think that's something that has passively happened with Nathaniel's deadlift as we've gone to 105, is we have naturally drifted a little bit wide and create a little bit more space, not to the extreme that was being encouraged, but like passively we've just had to in order for that brace to happen and not be in our own way. But yes, I was seething. But yeah, like it was a good laugh, like, and content is content. And I think what a lot of people maybe miss, like, is that content is there for a reaction and engagement, not necessarily nuance. No one sits and watches a 20-minute deadlift tip video to hear it depends, because there's no tangible takeaway, right? And as coaches, we all love an it depends, but it depends doesn't sell.
I also think as well, like, Eddie Hall is probably well aware of every single point Nathaniel made. Like, Eddie is also a personality at this point, but above, he's not really an athlete anymore. He's a personality now, and he's got to obviously keep going with that. And then Nathaniel, I don't watch loads of his content, but I do feel like he is educational as well as influencer-esque, right? So then he'll be giving the nuance of why he's doing things differently. And look at them side by side. They're very differently built, right? But yeah, I remember watching it being like, this is actually like way more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. And I really enjoyed it. And then I scrolled to the comments thinking people were going to love the video. And I was like, why is everyone saying Nathaniel's just like being really disrespectful and rude and not taking advice? And I'm like, you guys know they agreed to do this collab, right? Yeah,
he got a lot of grief for that. But again, that's people not understanding nuance and not understanding how that works. And like, I'm very much, over my years coaching, like, what, EST is 5 years old in June, when was it June or May when we launched 21? So we're 5 years old this year. And there's one thing that I've learned in this 5 years is that athletes will always be athletes. And you just can't let them do it sometimes. They're going to do that. And they are both athletes and they are both very sure of themselves. So there was always going to be that. It's not disrespectful, it's just perspective. And people don't understand that because they haven't worked with athletes or like mixed with those personalities so much.
Yeah. No, I just wanted your opinion on that video before we wrapped up. Won't keep you much longer.
Awesome.
What have you got coming up in 2026? We're filming this literally at the start of January, so
yeah,
what have we got to look forward to?
I am going away and coaching for Uni Euros in Bordeaux in France in February. That'd be lovely. Plan is to go away as part of the Uni Worlds coaching team as well. So that'll be good fun. So coaching wise, it's kind of your main events really. I don't actually have too much pending beyond like the British calendar. I'll be at Sheffield, like sort of working with sort of the logistics of that, which is always a very fun sort of gig. And personally, get lean and try not to die and maybe compete at the end of the year, but that's a maybe. So yeah, it's going to be a busy year. I've got a few businessy bits behind the scenes that I can't really talk about yet. Because nothing's done until pen is to paper. But I'll be very excited to post about that when that hopefully comes through. But yeah, it's going to be a busy one. Good.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
We've kept it to about an hour. We've done well. Not too much tangents, not too much rambling. Any coaching spaces before we wrap up? How can people reach you?
So I'm currently on a one-to-one basis sat full. I'm sat capacity as of right now as of recording it. I know we do have some spaces over on Jacob's side of the roster. We are also launching a low contact option for like a weekly check-in. So there are some limited spaces available there as of recording, as when this comes out in February. I'm not actually sure. Hopefully not. But yeah, so there are spaces available, but also like I'm kind of at a point where it's a case by case basis. If an application comes in or someone's interested, I feel like would be a really good fit. I'm open to a conversation at any point, really. So yeah.
So reach out, Instagram?
Reach out. Yeah, Instagram, application form, drop us a message. That's either to me directly, Jacob Weimer, or EST Barbell. We're more than open to have conversations there. And get Jacob on the podcast.
Okay, if I got Pape on, I can have Jacob on.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like if you can have Pape hold a conversation for an hour, Jacob can do it.
Jacob's the first powerlifter I ever knew, so he really should support me, shouldn't he?
That's a nice round circle moment, like full circle moment, that isn't it?
There you go.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.